Welcome to International Securities Exchange's podcast series. Facilitated by renowned educators, ISE podcasts are intended to teach beginning as well as seasoned investors the ins and outs of trading. To find an updated list of podcasts, please visit www.ise.com/podcasts. Please be sure to listen to our important message following this episode regarding the risks of investing in exchange-traded options.
Got another retest coming up right here. Does that one break? 60.72. It broke by 3 cents, so we would call that an exit. See how, if I zoom in there for a second, this is where sometimes you'll get flushed out, and then you'll have to jump back in a little bit later. So there's our retest under the 80 threshold. This is all covered in my %R DVD. That low is the key low, 60.72. While it came back good late, you can see it closed at 60.69, 3 cents under our stop. You must exit based on my rules, and then you're waiting for your next setup. Here's your next setup. If it breaks above 64.12 back there in early November, and you can see that happens 3 bars later at 65.01. You say, well, how high can this really go? You just follow this thing through, and you can see this one went on to about 68, 68.5 up here, 68.70 at the peak. And then it gets a retest coming in right here. It's going to stop you out on the remainder of the position when it violates that down there at 64.70. But it keeps giving you ways to get back on. Now, more recently, been a little choppy, having some trouble clearing each retest level. So as of right now, it would be in a kind of a trading range mode, even though it's been a relatively stronger index compared to most. A few more before we hand it back over to Steve. As we look at my favorite symbol, the YUK, YUK.X, $YUK.X. This is, you can see, more of a downtrend. Even though it's not any longer a fast downtrend, you can see that in comparison, we had some good periods like in October when the U.S. dollar against the Canadian was going crazy to the upside. This was actually downtrending real nicely. You're getting a nice retest coming in right here, and it tried to break above there, couldn't. So you could actually have been long calls on the CDD when the dollar is blasting up against the Canadian, but then while the dollar is weak against the yen, you could have been in puts on the YUK and benefiting as the YUK dropped from that retest level at just around 102 all the way down to about 91.50. I mean, again, a 10% move in a currency in a month in a pair is phenomenal, and that's the kind of moves we'd love to catch, especially for how reasonably priced these options are. You can see in TradeStation, if you go down to the option station analysis, like right now YUK's in a trading range, so we wouldn't be trading it as a straight buy either way. But if you went to option station analysis in TradeStation, you can do these montages pretty much just about anywhere that carries a montage. Let's see if I can do it. I'm on a wireless connection, so it might take me a second here. But basically, I usually would hit that option station analysis, and it would run a montage for me. And for some reason, it looks like it's not liking that. It seems to be, oh, here it comes. It's just taking a little bit on my wireless. But so we do YUK, and we hit OK. And we say, well, how far out do you want to look? Well, let's just look for the sake of speed here at, we can show the front month, but let's just look at you can look at, say, 6 strikes around the current price going out to the front month and the second month. We'd probably look out to the second month, since front month is February. We'd probably look out to the March options, which if we scroll down a little bit here, just let me zoom this out a little bit so you can see the whole screen. We'll pop up March and just look at March for a second. So you can see YUK here is trading 88.97, so it's right around the 89 level. So you say, well, if we're stuck kind of at the lower end of the range, I think that, YUK's at the lower end of a trading range. It's probably going to bounce but flatten out, not do a whole lot. I could potentially be saying, well, I could be, say, selling maybe a point below the market and maybe buying. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the call side. I've got to do the put side here. Here's the puts over here. I could be selling the 88s and potentially buying the 87s. The key there is, you've got to get enough premium. That really doesn't, for a 1-point spread, it's only giving me, even if I got it filled bid to bid, which would be unlikely, but that would be like 25 cents plus 8 cents, 33 cents. That would be, that would be worth it if you could do that, but that's probably going to be a tough fill. If you look at the middles, it might not be that tough. I mean, we might be able to get 30 cents on it if you put it in around, just said I want to do the credit for 30 cents on a $1 spread. I'm not necessarily saying that's what I would do here, but just saying, it gives you examples. You can also look, of course, with a lot of these various ones at the volatilities, which are relatively cheap. You can see you'd be selling a 22.1 versus buying a 22.7. That's kind of usually the opposite of what you'd like to do there. So that's another reason it probably would be something I would say I'd probably look at it, but probably pass it. I'd rather sell the more expensive one and buy the cheaper one. But it's just ways you can go look at these various opportunities. So, running short on time here, but let me just do a couple more real quick just to wrap up.
Can you take a look at AUX?
Yeah, let's look at AUX.
Yeah, I'm just interested.
So if we do 1 second, if my wireless, trying to get back out of that here. Go to there we go, $AUX.X.
This was completely wild last year. So.
Yeah, it's been a real wild one. Last year, of course, like you could see some monster trends there. And that's the beauty of this whole big trends method is that once you see it take off, this one took off the earliest, just like Steve's alluding to. You say, okay, hey, which one do you want to be on? You want to be on the one that moves first. Don't buy the laggards, buy the leaders. You can see how strong this was. And even here where you got a retest, it looked like it was working at first, start to get it popping up for a few days. Goes from 121 to 128. You might have been able to take part off. Then you get to say stopped out there at 120.40, and you go, oh, no, now it's taking off without me. Well, here's another reentry signal, 127.09, and then it's bull confirmed there, 129.59 on its way up to 157 in about 5 or 6 more days, actually. So, and then another retest could have gotten you back on board right into this key level here. So you can see very nice trend. Right now, it's actually just tried to give a breakout but failed. 154 was the key number, and it tried the next day on the 23rd and failed. So it's still trading range-ish right now versus, say, October. It was real strong. So, and then EUI would be my last one I'll mention. I'll hand it back over to Steve. EUI is one that I also like to follow because the euro can be a pretty useful one to trade. It was real strong October and November when a lot of other ones were breaking in November. It was still strong most of November until right here when it broke back there on the 25th. Then it kind of came right back to the top of the range and then faded. We actually got a short-term downtrend signal. You can see how powerful that was in mid-December. And now we just tried to give an uptrend signal. That key number was on the 20th of January was 77.78. And then you can see we tried a couple times, but there, especially a couple days ago, it got all the way to 78 intraday, but closed back under our key number. So we're basically in trading range mode on all these and saying, okay, even though it's above the acceleration bands there for a little while, the %R did not come on board. So if I was going to trade it, it would have been a very small position. I usually like to wait until these things sync up. It's sort of like when the planets align, you can really get everything really syncing up in your favor. And that's what you're really looking for is that kind of an opportunity there.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. To find more podcasts on options, stocks, alternative markets, and market data, please visit www.ise.com/podcasts.